Yo guys, what's up? Axe, I'm back with another video here today, and today we're going to be talking about Kokomi's rerun banner. In case you guys didn't know, Kokomi's new rerun banner has just outsold rerun banners like Zhongli's rerun banner, Kazuha's rerun banner, and Venti's rerun banner. Now, that's like actually crazy good considering when Kokomi first came out, she was considered the worst 5-star in the game. Now, if you weren't there when she first released, maybe we have some new players. But in case you guys didn't know, when Kokomi first released, she was considered the worst 5-star in the game. People were calling her worse than Barbara, the free 4-star we have in the game. Like, all the big YouTubers were calling her the worst 5-star in the game, calling her worse than Chi-Chi, saying that no one should pull for her, and pretty much all the YouTubers were saying it. Pretty much like MTash, Tectone, all the big ones. Even me, I said it that she wasn't really that good back in the day. But, you know, times have changed. Now everyone considers her top tier among most people. If you say Kokomi's bad, it's a very controversial opinion now. Everyone now believes Kokomi's like one of the most useful characters in the game, and she's on some of the best teams in the game. Now look how the turns have tabled, right? Now people are saying Kokomi is a top tier character. Kokomi is a must pull. Kokomi is on some of the best teams in the game. If you look up statistics for like some of the most used characters, Kokomi is among that list. If you look at some of the best teams in this battle abyss that get the job done, Kokomi's on the team. She works great with some of the best 5-stars in the game, like Ayaka and Kazuha. So how did this happen? How did like Kokomi come from being the worst, considered the worst 5-star unanimously by pretty much everyone on YouTube and like the whole Genshin community, start off as considered the worst 5-star to now considered like a top 20 character by most people's opinion, saying that she's one of the best characters in the game. Some people saying she's better than like someone like a child. She used to be unanimously the worst character in the game. So what changed? And I kind of want to talk about why Kokomi changed from being like considered the worst character to now becoming the best character by beating out rerun banners like Zhongli's and Venti's and Kazuha's and all those characters. Kokomi has definitely become a fan favorite. When she first released, she was far from that. So today I want to kind of go back in time, you know, back in the old days, which is like, I don't know, like a couple months ago, when we all considered her the worst 5-star in the game.
What we do here is go back.
Alright, first off, I kind of want to talk about why she was considered the worst character in the game. It's pretty simple when you look at it, right? Pretty much when Kokomi first released, pretty much this happens with every single character. It happened with Raiden Shogun, who was the last 5-star who released before Kokomi. Pretty much, this was the time in Inazuma characters, right? In case you guys didn't know, this was when Inazuma first released. Pretty much every 5-star that released in Inazuma pretty much just got bashed on. You can check it like every character that released pretty much got hate. Ayaka got hate, mainly for her Ayaka dash and all the bugs she had, right? Yoimiya, I don't think she really got that much hate, but she was not like, a lot of people were not high on her. Raiden had the most hate coming out the gate, even though she was, to me, obviously, like one of the best characters in the game at the time. And even Kujosari got hate, and don't even talk about me with Alloy. A lot of people didn't like Alloy. People were like, potentially hyping her up, but she was not good, right? So pretty much Kokomi was on the streak of pretty much all Inazuma characters were already hated on. Like there were pretty much all these Inazuma characters who released during the Inazuma period, pretty much all got hate, and Kokomi was not an exception to that, right? Kokomi obviously got the new character hate, which every single character gets, because if you look at every 5-star in the game, they always get hate, and most of the time it is undeserved, right? So this always happens with every character. But the reason why she actually got hate was because coming out the gate, she had stuff that people didn't really like, right? First off, we gotta talk about the good old negative 100% in crit rate, right? Pretty much you have negative crit rate for a character, right? Pretty much this is what like drew a lot of people off from her. Like having no crit rate, which is like one of the most essential things in Genshin, turned a lot of people off from like Kokomi, right? Obviously she got a healing bonus, but you know, this not a good look for like the casual players who's like, oh wait, I don't get a crit, I don't really want to do this, right? First off, that's like there is a lot of casual players, so a lot of casual players did not like the sign of, oh wait, I can't crit, why would I play this character? They like to see the high damage numbers, and Kokomi is not one of them, making her not very much a likable character to play. Not to mention she's not a DPS, and when you're not a DPS and you're a 5-star, pretty much no one cares about characters who are not a DPS and a 5-star. If you look at this, who are considered some of the worst 5-stars in the game, right? We gotta look at it. Someone like a Chi-Chi. No one uses a Chi-Chi. Why? Because why do you need a 5-star healer? All the 5-stars, a lot of people are not pulling for some of the support 5-stars like Shenhe, Not a lot of people are high on Shenhe. No one really wants to pull for her because she's a support. Someone like a Kazuha. A lot of people did not want to pull for a Kazuha because Eula just came out and it's like, oh, she's a DPS now. Why would I pull for a support when I could have a DPS? That's what a lot of people thought. Same thing with Albedo. He was a support, and a lot of people didn't pull for him because he was a support. Some of the exceptions are, of course, like a Venti, someone like a Kazuha, who people figure out he was like insanely good, right? People like Yellen, who also is insanely good support, but most of the time people don't pull supports. So obviously Kokomi being a support already turned a lot of people off because most people who pull for 5 stars or who are saving for 5 stars do not want to pull a support. Most of them want to pull the DPSs like a Raiden, an Ayaka, Eula, Ganyu, a Diluc, right? A Diluc is very niche, but people want those big damage numbers, and Kokomi's a healer, and who really wants a healer? Obviously, she offered a lot more than healing because healing is definitely a great part of her, but obviously people figured out maybe she can do more than just healing, right? So first off, we gotta talk about the Barbara comparisons, right? At the time when Kokomi released, she had a lot of Barbara comparisons, which, looking at face value, it's kind of true. Pretty much she's a Hydro healer. She doesn't do that much damage. She pretty much just has this worse child skill where she can just constantly do Hydro damage. But, you know, obviously people were saying, why, just use child. Obviously Kokomi had this kind of a child skill that heal but enable Hydro, but people were not that high on it. I'm still not that high on it. I think her greatest asset is her E, but we'll talk about it later when we talk about her positives. Right now we're just talking really about her negatives. And the next thing I want to talk which was probably the biggest negative to Kokomi releasing and getting all this hate, was mainly because she released after Raid on Shogun, right? An Archon releasing right before you, not the best time for a character to release. So pretty much everyone spent their primos, pulling for Raiden Shogun, right? Raiden was just like an Archon, right? In case you guys don't know, most of the time when Archon comes out, they're probably the most pulled characters in the game on their first initial release, right? Look at Venti, look at Zhongli. People love these characters. People want to pull for them, especially with Raiden. I think she was like the most highest sold character in the game and has like the highest amount of money made from a rerun banner. Raiden, definitely a character people love, and most people spent most of their primos on Raiden, right? And if you did not pull Raiden, you were saving for Kokomi, right? Because she was the next up character. So let's say you missed out on Raiden and you ended up pulling Kokomi, and you realize, wow, she's just a healer, and she has negative crit rate, and she is pretty much a Barbara from what people are telling me, right? Obviously, this has changed, right? I don't think personally she has that great of a kit. I think she's a character who just happens to have a good enough kit to work with like some of the best supports. I'm not saying that Kokomi is like some god tier support or some god tier characters like with the likes of Yellen and Xingqiu. I think Kokomi has something that kind of pushes her over the edge to being a top tier character because she works so good with other great characters. So now I kind of want to talk about what kind of changed with people's opinion on Kokomi, right? Because people started perceiving her as like, all right, this is the worst 5-star in the game. You can watch a couple videos back in the day where Tectone saying she was the worst 5-star in the game. Most tier lists had her like on the lower end of 5 stars, right? Even I had her in the lower end of my tier list, right? I was not high on Kokomi either, right? It was until the meta people, right? The meta people started figuring out what Kokomi can actually do and how useful she can actually be, right? Obviously there's some believers like some guide channels who obviously saw the potential, but a lot of people didn't care. Now to talk about how she actually became a top tier, one thing that definitely did help was a new set that released for her, right? Obviously we got a new Kokomi set. I never like really farmed for it because I'm not really like building up healers like that, but pretty much Kokomi got her own set. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were waiting for this. Kokomi did kind of feel like a character who needed her own set. So, obviously, they released a new Kokomi set, which kind of buffed her a little bit, giving her extra damage as a healer. Pretty much having a set built around a single character helps you out a lot. Characters like Zhao, characters like Arita Ito, characters like Eula, all those characters have their own individual set that make them so much better. Same thing goes with Kokomi. Having your own set is obviously going to make you a lot better. So first off, she got better off of her initial release, so that kind of helped her out a lot. Next up, we got to talk about the characters who kind of carried Kokomi into the top 10. Now, I'm not saying Kokomi is not deserving to be a top 20 character in the game, but Kokomi definitely got carried into being a top tier character in the game. Now I'm going to be talking about these two characters who kind of carried Kokomi into being a top 20 character in the game. And obviously this is my opinion. You can think otherwise, but most of Kokomi's other teams are not that good in my opinion, right? Obviously you can run taser comms with like a character like a Beto, right? You can use taser comms with like a Beto. You can kind of work other teams, but like mainly like she can only work on taser teams, right? That's her like only secondary team. But like the reason she actually is considered good is because she works with these two characters, right? First off, Kazuha is probably considered one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion, a top 3 character in the game. He's amazing. He does everything well. He's animal, so obviously having the Viridescent set makes him even better, right? So first off, Kazuha, amazing character in the game, one of the best supports in the game. So Kazuha being like an amazing support and working with Kokomi obviously brings Kokomi's value up a lot more, being able to work with Kazuha. So having this kind of like effect where because Kazuha is so high up, he brings Kokomi along with him so high up and brings both of their value insanely high. Mainly Kokomi is just getting so much value because Kazuha as a character who exists, right? Obviously, like Kazuha had characters like a Mona, right? Characters like a Shang-Chu who kind of like filled that role before Kokomi came out. But when Kokomi came out, you just pop her E, it stays there, you know, constantly gets Hydro and helps out with his ult. So, you know, when you do like the animal part, you know, you just get Hydro, right? But, you know, you don't really have to do like that much effort. You don't really have to do her like ultimate attack. You can just pop her E and you get like the value of just having constant Hydro applying, right? So that's kind of what how Kokomi fits well on Kazuha teams. Now we got to go with an Ayaka. Right, now this kind of associates with Kazuha too, because Kazuha, Ayaka, Kokomi, and then you can put like a Bennett. That's one of the best teams in the game right now, right? So you pretty much, Ayaka Shred is a real thing, right? Ayaka Shred is one of the best team comps in the game, right? Pretty much you just freeze your enemies and you pop your ult, and pretty much you're just shredding the whole entire time and you're doing insane damage, right? Pretty much Ayaka obviously had the Shing-Chus and the Monas before this, but Kokomi brought it to another level by just literally having popping out your E and you pretty much just have it out the whole entire time, making Shred insane and super easy. So having Ayaka and Kazuha, some of the best characters in the game, right? In my opinion, these two are top 5 characters in the game. Having a character like Kokomi who works so well with top 5 characters in the game, it's kind of like the Xinglang effect. But in my opinion, Xinglang is a lot better than Kokomi. Xinglang, right, I think her scaling is great, but what makes her even better is that she works with so many good teams. Like Xinglang works so good with a Xing-Chu, so good with a Bennett, right, so good with a Fischl, so good with the Sucrose, so good with a Raiden. Pretty much Xinglang works like pretty much good with every single great team, right? Kokomi is kind of like a worse Xinglang where she doesn't work with so many great teams. She has one team that she works so good that it brings her to a top tier because she's working with a top tier team, right? Obviously, people love this character. I can understand why. She has a cool aesthetic. You know, I'm not personally that big fan of her gameplay, but pretty much you pop her E, you activate Kazuha and Ayaka, Shred, and pretty much you have one of the best teams in the game. So obviously, not having Kokomi in this team kind of makes the team a little worse, but not that much. You can pretty much replace with a Yellen, pretty much the ultimate with Ayaka. If you're running him as a support, you can kind of use a Mona. But you know, a lot of people have used Kokomi, and obviously there's other teams with Kokomi that you can use. There's so many teams that you can use with Kokomi just because how easy she is to put in because she's a healer and she can apply Hydra, right? Kokomi has pretty much good teams just because of how simple she is, which was kind of her negative in the beginning because she was so simple. She was kind of just compared to Barbara, but unlike Barbara, she can do Hydro application off the field, so it makes her way easier to use, and plus she can fit on some teams like Taser. So that's kind of like how Kokomi became a top tier, because a lot of people, it was a sudden shift, right? I think for me it was kind of a shocker when Kokomi became a top tier, because I'm like, just a couple months ago people were like, this is the worst 5-star in the game, right? And then people started realizing, oh, Kokomi is a top tier in the character in the game because of how many great teams she has, right? How many teams she works great with, and those teams are some of the best teams in the game. So that's kind of how Kokomi became like a top tier, mainly by association of working with such great teammates. Obviously, people feel differently, mainly because, you know, Kokomi is a beloved character right now in the game, and people like love using Kokomi. A lot of people pulled for it. Obviously, a lot of people like her character. So I'm not saying like Kokomi is some bad character and she just fall off the face of the earth with Kazuha and Ayaka, but I think she benefits a lot from being working good with top tiers. And obviously, you can say, oh, that obviously, you can say that applies to everyone, but I think this applies a lot to Kokomi. So this is pretty much like me explaining how Kokomi became from being considered the worst 5-star in the game and to the best 5-star in the game. Now that's pretty much gonna wrap this video. I just wanted to do something a little different. I want us to talk about like the phenomenon of Kokomi, because she's kind of like one of the few characters in the game who's considered the worst character in the game, and somehow came out to be one of the best, considered one of the best characters in the game, unanimously by a lot of people in the Genshin community. So it's kind of a sudden change, and we've only had like a certain amount of characters who's been able to do it. Characters like Shangli, who was quite often underrated. Characters who like Bennett, who's also underrated. Characters like, for example, a Sucrose, who a lot of people underrated, and a lot of people didn't see the full potential and realize how good they can be. And Kokomi is one of those characters, and I think she's just a weird phenomenon that, you know, sometimes just don't decide on a character too early. Obviously, I'm not one to talk because I always have strong opinions when a first character comes out, but I think Kokomi is the prime example of already. This character might seem bad, but let's do some testing, play them out, and we can figure out a way to make them good, right? Not every character is going to be bad, right? We shouldn't always consider a character bad right off the jump. Sometimes we just got to experiment with them. Sometimes we just got to put them on teams and figure out what they're good at. And if they're not good, oh well. But sometimes they are good, and Kokomi is a prime example of characters who have been slept on in the beginning. And Kokomi is a prime example of sometimes you shouldn't judge too early. Now, that's gonna end the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you guys think about Kokomi's sudden change from being considered the worst character in the game to the best character in the game. And I want to hear all of your thoughts. Some people still consider one of the worst 5-stars in the game. I'm not that strong of an opinion. I can definitely see an argument, but you know, there is just like so many like good 5-stars in the game. It's kind of hard to consider like a lot of the 5-stars bad in the game. So I want to hear all of your opinions and what you guys think of Kokomi, and did you pull for a rerun? I would like to know all of it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and later haters, see ya.